Hi, it's Ian from the Postal Hub podcast,
And Marek from Last Mile Experts.
and we are the Last Mile Prophets. This is the last word on the last mile. This video is created thanks to Modern Expo, one of the key players in the world's parcel locker market. Modern Expo's product portfolio includes innovative solutions with refrigeration and freezing cells, Bluetooth locks, and even personal parcel lockers. Marek Last Mile Experts has just released its latest report. Its latest? Well, with the time of recording, it's the latest published report. Out of home delivery in the GCC. It's available now on the Last Mile Experts website. There'll be a link down there somewhere to the report, free to download. Marek, what are some of the countries that are in the GCC? Who are we talking about here?
Well, the ones that we know about, of course, is Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, UAE. But if anyone wants to check all of them, then you just write in Wikipedia or somewhere, GCC, you'll get them all. But it's that part of the world, in case anyone doesn't know.
So the Middle East, that part of the world.
Absolutely.
How do parcel volumes in those markets compare with, say, Western Europe or other parts of the world?
Well, I think this is one of the opportunities, and the reason that we decided to actually produce this report is it's an area that not many people know too much about. And thanks to Greg Urban, who is bang in the middle of that place, he said, look, it's really worth talking about it. And in answer to your question, volumes, unsurprisingly, are very low compared to, let's call it, the developed e-commerce world. So, if you were to compare, for example, GCC with Japan, which is one of the most developed places, it's going to be something like 6 times less in terms of parcel volumes. So, huge potential opportunity.
We've certainly seen a bit of activity in that region with Amazon, Noon, Souk, and all those sorts of companies and marketplaces trying to ramp up their operations. What about growth then? What do you see as, or what's your report found in terms of growth potential?
Well, again, in terms of growth potential, we see it as being incredible, probably 60% plus. So, we get very pleased in Europe when we talk about anything over 10% in terms of courier markets. Of course, post COVID, where we did have a short term blip. So, we think that's really attractive. And frankly, we don't really even have any idea because with the infrastructure as it is, it's not ideally geared towards e commerce last mile. So, frankly, as that develops, we'll get more players coming in, and the sky within reason is the limit. So I think that's really exciting.
So what do you mean by it's not geared towards the last mile, or it's not sort of ready for e-commerce growth? What do you mean by that?
E-commerce needs, out of home, and out of home is relatively weak in that area. It's if you take all the networks, it's under 1 per 10,000, which, as you know, is the LME rule for a minimum viable product in out of home. And even you mentioned earlier Noon, which is a big player in that part of the world. According to our latest data, they only have about 20 lockers in the UAE and probably around about 160 plus in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So not exactly a vast network of lockers. So big opportunity there.
Well, let's talk about the networks that are there now. So what kind of out-of-home presence is there in the various parts of the GCC?
Well, at the moment, it's primarily PUDO. Lockers, as we've just said, are underdeveloped. Surprise, surprise, or no surprise, Aramex is the big carrier in that part of the world. And Aramex are smart cookies. We can expect developments because, as you remember, I think we discussed it several months ago, Geopost or La Poste have invested in Aramex. So the potential is there. You've got Amazon in the region via Souk, you've got Noon, but someone needs to just bring it together and get the infrastructure to the next step. And that's why we decided, and again, it was Greg Urban that was behind this report. We decided that it's worth talking about the region because it is such a big opportunity. It requires probably a more coordinated approach than we're seeing at the moment. Each carrier is doing their own thing. Noon, probably in terms of APMs, is the leader in terms of development, but that network I think is closed. So, we can expect a lot to happen. There's a lot of opportunity. And, we're hoping that as a result of this report, people will take a closer look and say, hold on a minute, let's seize the day, carpe diem, and do something in that region.
What you could say about some of the parts of the GCC is that there are some big metropolises in that area, aren't there? Places like Dubai or Riyadh, and then very remote places as well, with great distances between them. So is that something that people have to take into companies looking at putting in PUDO or a parcel locker or generally an out-of-home network have to take into consideration?
Absolutely. I think, Ian, the rules are the same, whether it's that part of the world or other parts of the world. Even in a place like Norway or Sweden, you're going to get big cities, and then particularly up in the north, you'll get very small places. So I think that the rules are similar. Of course, what you do have there is completely different temperature issues. So maybe Norway or Sweden, it will be rather cold at some parts of the year. Here, it's going to be very hot. So, of course, there'll be limitations on what you can transport out of home, particularly to lockers. But, what we've tried to do here is put that region on the map. I'm not really the expert who should be talking here. So if someone's interested, you can download the report. It's free. And then talk to Greg Urban, who is the expert on that region. But what I'm hoping is that, our video cast today will get people interested. People either who are already thinking about the opportunity will say, hey, let's take a look, see what more we can do. Or people who haven't, when I say people, I mean people and companies who haven't really looked at that region can say, well, let's take a closer look.
Certainly it has potential to grow as an e-commerce hub. We've seen that in some of the initiatives that like Emirates Post has been doing to try to grow e-commerce. I know that some of the other postal operators in that neck of the woods are trying to up their e-commerce delivery game. You mentioned temperature there, Marek. I know it's one of the things whenever I've talked to postal operators in the Middle East, I said, well, we have to use vans. We can't use motorbikes because it's so hot during the day. Oh, don't imagine you see many deliveries by a cargo bike.
No, I would. Well, actually, you know what? Yeah, I mean, this is completely out of scope for this video cast, but I can actually imagine, given the sun, that you could have some very powerful electric vehicles, maybe some hybrid vehicle that is sort of almost air conditioned or in some way, protects the driver against ultra hot temperatures. But the solar power there must be a big deal. What would be really great, Ian, we've not really, as Last Mile Profits, done too much on the Middle East. It would be great maybe to have some comments, feedback from our friends at Saudi Post or at Emirates Post or even Aramex, because, those are players that really know that region. And it would be great to get a bit of colour from them on what's happening.
Well, drop your comments below, whether you're watching this on LinkedIn or on YouTube. Let us know what you think. What are you seeing as being the strong trends there in that neck of the woods? Was it with regard to either e-commerce, parcel locker development, sophistication in PUDOs, or proliferation of PUDOs outside of the traditional post office network? Drop your comments below. Thanks for watching this video on YouTube. Remember to hit like, subscribe, and the notifications bell so you get a notification every time we publish a new video. We publish them once a week, Marek. Sometimes more than once a week if we're feeling really generous. So do subscribe. We want to reach, if we haven't already reached 1,000, we want to reach it so that, well, it just helps if we've got over 1,000 subscribers. So please do help. You can do your bit by subscribing. Marek Różycki, thanks for being part of the Last Mile Profits today.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, everybody.